Hello guys, welcome to Major's Garage. This is Suellio. Today we're gonna see my lap with the Formula 3 at Road America. So let's go straight to the first corner. So braking and turning reference will be this last single cone here. That's exactly what I'm using for both the braking, because I'm basically immediately starting to release and churn as soon as I hit the maximum pressure. So it's a very quick transition. I don't really brake on a straight line here. I do start braking, but as you can see, even before reaching maximum pressure, I was already starting to slightly turn. And then, of course, immediately I am already releasing the brakes and having the car transfer that stopping power into turning power immediately. I'm aiming for the very beginning of the curb, maybe not too early. As you can see, this is very good. So I'm missing just this first thin bit of the curb, and as soon as we get to around the third or fourth colored stripe here, I am going totally over the curb. I'm getting back on the throttle also very early, so as you can see, it's a very early apex, we can call it. Trying to get as early as possible to 100. As you can see, I was a little bit hesitant here. As you can see, I went up to 80%, and then as I felt the car was not oversteering, I went straight to 100. And then as we accelerate, we want to be sure we're not forcing the front tires, having the rear tires helping rotate the car. Be careful with this little curb here. Generally, it pulls the car. As you can see here, we can definitely see how the car slides to the left. Now, you see, it slides to the left. So there's a big chance if you're using this too aggressively, it will pull you out of the track, and then you will have an off track. Here in this lap, I had enough time to bring just back and just clip this gravel here without getting any off track. But be careful with that. This takes a lot of practice. Be sure where you're putting your car on exit so you can avoid this, especially in qualifying. Now, coming for the second corner, I am using the first reference here. I mean, not the first, the one sign. And you see there's a line here that is just about the one side that I do use this line as a reference. So as you can see, here I am. This line is here. I'm starting to brake, of course, just a little bit earlier, but my maximum pressure meets that line. And then still on a straight line for a little bit. We have a little bit lower speed than the first corner here. And then starting to turn, also a kind of early apex. So as you can see, I'm quite early getting close to the curb. Not as close, not really over the curb super early like T1. Here I'm waiting a little bit more, but it's still a quite early apex. And I want to get back on the throttle also pretty aggressively to make the car rotate with the throttle and carry as much speed as I can to this very long straight line here. Here, this curb does not pull us that much, but it does make the car bottom out and lose a little bit of straight line speed if you go down from this colored curb to the gray curb. Around here, there's a little bit of a dip. The track goes down, as you can see, just a little bit. So be careful with that. The car bottoms out and may lose kind of probably some hundreds on the straight. That could be very important for the qualifying or for setting an overtake. So be careful. If you can, try to bring the car a little bit back to the track a little bit earlier than the gray curb. Then we're coming for this, I think it's the lowest speed corner of the track. We want to brake pretty hard here. My reference is the beginning of this curb. As you can see, as always, I'm braking a little bit before. I'm starting to brake a little bit before, but my maximum pressure is at the curb. And then I really, as you can see here, I'm braking pretty hard, around 80%, and I really wait the car to stop. I'm not bothering with the curb going to the left here. I'm really letting my car stop, and then towards the end of the of the braking zone, I'm starting to just set a little bit my line and starting to churn. So as you can see, when you're braking super hard, don't be emotionally affected by the curb getting out of your way. You can really use a little bit of this exit here, not exit, a little bit of this off track in a way, to prepare your corner and have a better exit. So churning quite early. My aim is to be as close as possible to the grass. So as you can see here, I'm very aggressive. Just be careful not to touch the grass too much. I did touch it slightly here, but it was not. Actually, I did not. I was wrong. Let me see. Yeah, I was very close to touching the grass here, but I did not. If you can see, you see how the track goes down a lot. There's a hole basically here on the inside of this curb. So be careful. If you clip it too much, it's certainty that you're going to spin on the exit. So be careful with that. You can clip a little bit of the gravel here. This is the best reference to know if you are really at the limit. You will get an off track if the middle of the car goes on the gravel here. So as you can see, the middle of the car is still on the curb and I'm not having any off track. And then for this corner, a very complicated one because there's a lot of elevation change here. The track is falling basically and the car goes really light, so you cannot brake hard. As you can see here, I am braking, even though I am braking in a straight line basically for some time. I am braking less than 50%. That's because the car is really light. It can lock up very easily, so you have to be really aware of that. And then start churning very gently. Everything in this corner should be very gentle because there is no grip. The car is falling until basically the apex. At this moment here, I am using a little bit of the grass here, no big deal, and then trying to push the car forward as much as I can. Even at this point, you can see that I'm actually oversteering and doing some slight corrections here, but still trying to push the car as forward as possible. And then getting back as early as possible here to the left so I can prepare the next corner. This is an easy one for this car because there's a lot of downforce but not a lot of power, so you can basically go flat out. Just be careful not to oversteer and lose speed, so carrying enough speed and enough, just a little bit of steering input to make the car turn, and it's just like gently going into this flat curb. Then another quite hard braking zone. I am again using the white line here that represents the 2 as a braking zone. So as you can see here, I'm braking a little bit after it. My maximum pressure is a little bit after it. I'm starting to brake at the white line, but my maximum pressure is around here. So that's probably 1 or 2 cars after it. Yeah, exactly. This is my maximum pressure point. Then I'm really waiting for the car to stop, braking pretty hard. Here we have the 1. You can see that there is a white line here representing the 1. And this is my actually churning point. Even though I don't use it, what I do is I brake at this white line and then I'm already looking at the apex and trying to set up my line just by looking at the apex and intuitively churning into it. And trying to clip this inside grass. Here you can see that this curb has a lot of camber, so you see the track here, when it becomes the curb, we can see it going down very aggressively, so it really pulls the car. There's a lot of grip here, so if you hit this curb, it will make the car churn a lot and you can gain a lot of time with it. Just be careful not to be too aggressive and generate too much rotation by hitting this curb. You can end up spinning. Then going for the carousel, we can do this flat out mostly, except for the first lap where the car is still with cold tires. So with cold tires, I would recommend that even when it does not feel dangerous, you should lift a little bit so you can transfer the stress a little bit for from the rear tires to the front tires. If you keep accelerating, it's gonna consume a little bit the surface of the rear tire, and towards the end of the carousel, the car is going to snap very quickly and spin. So be careful with that on the first lap with cold tires, but after the second lap, it's still a little bit dangerous, but then after the third lap, you can basically go flat out here with no big problems. Just need to be very gentle with the front here, not just scrub any speed. Stay on the inside and let the car gently run away, and don't get this curb here, because it may make the car bottom out just a little bit and lose a little bit of speed. Then we go flat out here. No problem, just don't touch the curbs. They are a little bit in a different elevation and may make the car bottom out and lose a little bit of speed. And then for this corner here, I'm using the 2 as a reference. So as you can see, we can have the clearer part of the grass here and the 2. The 2 is my reference. I'm braking pretty hard here, and then I'm releasing. I'm braking for a straight line for a little bit of time, and then as I'm starting to turn and release more and more and more my brakes, I want to still carry some amount of speed here. It is a kind of early apex. You can get back on the throttle pretty aggressively and use all this outside curb here. Just be careful when you get back on the throttle here, not to clip that gravel too much. That will give you an easy off track that could ruin your qualifying lap. And then flat out here, no big deal. Just be sure that you're staying on the inside here, just to save some room. Normally we kind of want to let the car run wide here, but you definitely do not need to do that with this car. So you can just stay here on the middle, and then you're gonna save probably some hundreds of time. Then for this next corner, I'm braking right before this white line here. I'm really looking at the curb. I want to be as parallel as possible to the curb before I turn, and I want to turn in relatively early, so I can really get back on the throttle as early as possible and have a very good exit here. It's very important to set up a very good exit, to prepare very well the line here on the outside, and to be using all of the curb here, maybe even clipping the grass sometimes. Be careful with how much you do clip the grass. At this time I did not clip. And then be sure that you're getting back on the throttle on a very good timing, so that you don't need to correct it. If you get back on the throttle too early and you have to lift, you lose a lot of time on the entire straight. That will hurt this lap time and the lap time for the next lap. So be careful with that and get back on the throttle very decisively. You can use all of this exit here. Be careful with this little part here. If you touch the gravel, you have to correct immediately, even though you may end up going to the grass here, because if you keep trying to turn to the right and your rear tires touch the gravel, then you're gonna instantly spin. So be careful with that. And yeah, this was Formula 3 at Road America. The lap time was a 1:58.291. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you next week. Bye bye.